Hello everyone. So very warm welcome to all of you for discussion of microbiology question paper of INICET November 2021. So before starting the session, I will just like to add, this is a memory-based question which we have got through various sources. So if we change few words, the answer might differ. So take it as a memory-based recall questions. The main purpose of this recall question answer discussion is that it makes you aware which all are important topics which can be useful for your future exams. Okay, so we'll start with the first question which was asked. Here is a patient who is presenting with a history of bee sting. Okay, and following which of the immunoglobulin, either it was asked immunoglobulin or antibody which is associated with this. So your answer should be IgE antibody. Okay, IgE, so this is type 1 type of hypersensitivity reaction. So this is type 1 hypersensitivity reaction. Okay. Type 1 hypersensitivity reaction, there are various examples for them. One of them is your bee sting or asthma or any drug allergy. These all comes under type 1 hypersensitivity where reaction will be immediate within few seconds to minutes. And this is IgE mediated. So IgE antibody, which is bound to Fc receptor bound and which will go and bind to mast cells and releases various neurotransmitters for type 1 hypersensitivity. Those are histamine, eosinophil chemoattractive factor, which leads to anaphylactic reaction, urticaria, and bronchospasm. So the correct answer for your first question is IgE antibody. Now coming to second question. This question has been previously asked also. So this was a repeat question. Choose the correct pathogen which causes effacement attachment lesion. The clue point was this, effacement attachment lesion, and same picture was given in your entrance. So what is the correct answer? So the correct answer for this is your enteropathogenic E. coli. Okay. So enteropathogenic E. coli, you just remember P for pediatric. So it causes diarrhea in infant and children. Okay. And the mechanism of this, it goes and binds to villi of intestine. Okay, so that is effacement attachment, which we write as a, and it is mediated through a protein which is intimin. Okay, so enteropathogenic E. coli, which is responsible for diarrhea in infant and children, and the mechanism which it causes diarrhea is AE, which is attachment effacement, and the protein gene which is responsible for this process is your intimin gene protein. Okay, and this is non-toxigenic and non-invasive. Where is your introtoxigenic E. coli, which causes traveler's diarrhea? We know. Invasive lesions and diffuse the adenine, enteropathogenic E. coli. So we exclude other option. So effacement attachment is correct answer for this should be enteropathogenic E. coli. Coming to, so we have discussed this. Choose the correct demataceous or black fungi. Okay. The word here black was given to confuse you. Okay. And the options given were your Aspergillus niger, mucor, cladosporium, and blastomyces. Okay. So we classify hyphae. Fungus has a hyphal element, we all know, right? So hyphal element on the basis of whether they are septate or aseptate, we say them. Septate hyphae, if septa is present. If septa is absent, we say it as a aseptate. Okay. So you septate the fungus with septate hyphae, your Aspergillus penicillium, aseptate is Mucor and Rhizopus. On the basis of hyphal pigment, we classify those hyphae on the Dematiaceous, or we say it as a phioid, okay, and hyaline hyphae, okay, which is colorless. So Dematiaceous or phioid hyphae, please remember this. Okay. So we'll first go for the correct answer for this is your Cladosporium. We come to discussion. So just remember Dematiaceous fungi A, B, and C. Okay. So pigmented, phioid, or dematiaceous fungi A, B, C. A stands for your Alternaria. B stands for Bipolaris. It should be Bipolaris. Okay. Bipolaris. And C stands for Cladosporium. So these three are your dematiaceous fungi. Okay. We must have read black fungi. We say for Mucor, but please remember, using black fungi for Mucor is misnomer. Okay. Why we started saying it? Because of ischemia it causes, black lesions it causes. So we started saying it is a black fungi. Actually, it is not a black fungi. It belongs to Zygomycetes. The black fungus which is used for Mucor is misnomer. So the black term was given you to confuse you. But the correct answer for this is Cladosporium, or if it is given your Alternaria or Bipolaris, all other these answers are also correct. Okay, so this is the picture of Cladosporium, which causes chromoblastomycosis. What we see in this, you see copper penny body. Okay, these all are the characteristic feature of this Cladosporium, which causes chromoblastomycosis. Now we'll move to next question. Okay, which is obligate anaerobe. You get a plenty of question on anaerobe, so you have to learn their classification properly. So first we'll go to answer first, then we'll come to discussion. So correct answer for this is your Prevotella. Okay. Why we are excluding other option? Yersinia enterocolitica belongs to Enterobacteriaceae. So Enterobacteriaceae we know is aerobe and facultative anaerobe. Okay, Burkholderia, Stenotrophomonas, these all are your aerobes. Okay, so this comes under Pseudomonas. It's similar to Pseudomonas. Okay, which are aerobes. Okay, so the correct answer here is Prevotella. We'll learn the classification. You have sporing anaerobes, non-sporing. So your Clostridium belongs to sporing anaerobes, non-sporing anaerobes. This is the classification. You have gram-negative bacilli, gram-positive bacilli. So your bacteroids, Prevotella, Porphyriomonas, Fusobacterium, Leptotricha, these all are your gram-negative bacilli, which is non-sporing anaerobe. Gram-positive bacilli, which is non-sporing anaerobe. You have Eubacterium, Propionibacterium, Lactobacillus, which is called Dodolin bacilli, Mobiluncus. Among cocci, you have Peptococci, Streptococci, and Veillonella, which is gram-negative cocci. Fine. So among all these options, your correct answer was Prevotella. Now coming to fifth question. Following up prick, person developed a subcutaneous lesions, okay, and which was along the lymphatics, okay, which is shown in the image. The similar image was given in your entrance, and the option given are these: chromoblastomycosis, blastomycosis, sporotrichosis, cryptococcosis. I'm not sure whether I'm sure about three options. I'm not sure whether the option was cryptococcosis only. So option might be correct, but we'll focus on the correct answer for this. So correct answer for this is sporotrichosis. So correct answer is sporotrichosis is the correct answer. Okay. So the clue here was prick. Okay. As we know, sporotrichosis is caused by Sporothrix shankai, which is dimorphic fungi, which can be present in a yeast form and mold form both. The peculiar feature of this that the lesions, the nodules or ulcer which develops, okay, ulcerate, it can be ulcerative lesion or nodular lesion, any form it can be seen. It will be characteristically will be along the lymphatic channel. You see cigar bundle, cigar shaped yeast, asteroid body, that all will be the clue. If the question might change a little bit, these all clue might be helpful for you. Okay, so this image was given, related to this image was given to you and asked to what is the lipid A of, what is the lipid A of in the gram negative, or what is the A in the given picture in a gram negative cell wall. Okay, so this four area was marked. I think this was marked, B, C, and D was there. Okay, so this is the gram negative cell wall, which has cell membrane and peptidoglycan layer, outer membrane, and lipopolysaccharide layer. In lipopolysaccharide, this will be your O polysaccharide. Okay, O, the outer one. The middle one will be your core polysaccharide. So this is the picture. This is lipid A. I will just draw and show you. And this will be your O polysaccharide. And this part will be core polysaccharide. And this is your lipid A. Okay. So lipopolysaccharide layer, we know, have very much importance in gram negative cell wall because it has endotoxic activity. So C was peptidoglycan layer, B was outer membrane. So this was peptidoglycan, outer membrane, and D is porine. So these all area was marked, and you have been asked what is the B labeled area. So B is nothing but lipopolysaccharide layer of gram negative cell wall, which is responsible for endotoxic activity. As you know, the plenty of image-based questions you get, right? So this was also one of the image-based questions. So the different egg was given and picture was given. You have been asked to match which is correct. Okay. So the egg given was hookworm egg, Ascaris egg, Taenia egg, and Hymenolopus nana egg. Hookworm egg, the characteristic feature of hookworm egg will be, it will have 4 blastomeres. What will be the feature? 4 blastomeres, okay, which we see. So in this picture, you can see there are 4 blastomeres here. So this is egg of hookworm, which we say, Ankylostoma duodenale. So you were given A, B, C, D this side, and I think 1, 2, 3, 4 this side. You have to match it. So if it was A, and this was 3. So correct answer for A is 3. Then second was Ascaris egg. Ascaris egg will have mammillated air. Okay. So mammillated layer will be seen in Ascaris. Okay. So you can see in this is the mammillated layer. Okay. Which is outside. So this is the egg of Ascaris. Ascaris, you have fertilized and unfertilized both egg. Okay. Now Taenia egg. Taenia will have 3 pair of hooklets and radiation. When you see their egg wall, there will be a radiation. So this is the Taenia egg. I think hook is not very, you can see 1, 2, and 3 pair of hook is there, and radiation in the striation or radiation you can see in their egg wall. So this is Taenia egg. Okay. Now, Hymenolopus nana, which is dwarf tapeworm, this will have 3 pair of hooklets. So both Taenia and this are cystodes. So these two have 3 pair of hooklets. So there are, you can see 3 pair of hooklets, and they will have, so you can see here, they have 3 pair of hooklets. Okay. Striation is not there. Okay. Radiation is not there. So you can differentiate it from Taenia egg. Okay. And flagellated layer membrane will be there. So you can see around this. Okay. So this is your H. nana egg. You should know about this has been asked. So you have chances of that other egg picture will be given and asked in your upcoming entrances. So just remember, apart from this, egg with operculum. Okay. You can see some lid-like structure here. Okay. Egg with operculum. So this is Diphyllobothrium latum, egg with operculum. Spined egg. Okay. Cystostoma will have spined egg. Plano-convex, or we say kidney-shaped egg. Okay, so Entrobius will have plano-convex or kidney-shaped egg. Egg with mucus plug. So this is your mucus plug at both end. Okay, trichuris, trichura. Okay, so you have egg with blastomere, you have egg with 3 pair of hooklets, you have mammillated layer, you have radiations, operculum, a spined egg, plano-convex egg, and egg with mucus plug. So if you are able to remember this, you will be able to identify the picture of given egg. We'll move to next question. We have come to question number 8, where a female presented to OPD with vaginal discharge and itching was there. Smear was finding is given in the image. I'm not sure exactly the same image is there. Choose the pathogen. So image where you can see there is cells, epithelial cell with bacilli attached, organism attached. Okay, so that is your clue cells. Okay, so if picture is like this, where you have cells, epithelial cell with bacilli attached, that is your nothing but clue cell. Clue cells give diagnosis towards Gardnerella vaginalis. Okay, bacterial vaginosis. Okay. So Trichomonas vaginalis candida, you will be getting curdy white discharge. Okay. And Dodolin bacilli is nothing but your lactobacillus. Trichomonas vaginalis, you will be getting frothy discharge, frothy green discharge, foul smelling discharge. You have a question on this also, we'll discuss there. Dodolin bacilli is your lactobacillus. Candida, you get curdy white discharge. Okay. So if image is this, where epithelial cell you have attached to bacilli, so answer should be Gardnerella vaginalis. We'll see the bacterial vaginosis. So bacterial vaginosis, decrease in normal flora, lactobacillus, increase in some organism like Gardnerella vaginalis, Mycoplasma hominis, anaerobes like Mobilincus, bacteroids, Peptostreptococci. This causes bacterial vaginosis. How patient will present with cystitis, with discharge, pruritus, okay, all will be there. There is a criteria, fishy odor, yeah. Peculiar feature, you will get the fishy odor. Fishy odor will be there. And whiff test, which is when you add 10% of QH, the odor will increase because of release of amines. So that is called whiff test. Okay. And presence of clue cells will be there. So these all are criteria towards the diagnosis of bacterial vaginosis. Okay. Presence of clue cells, fishy odor, positive QH, that is your whiff test. Clue cells. Clue cells is nothing but epithelial cell whose surface with covered with adherent epithelial cell with surface covered with adherent bacilli. There was confusion in this question. Few people were saying it was concometric DNA was given. So finally, we have come to this clue that the question given was the which virus replication. This picture was related, similar kind picture was given with concomitant DNA, and the image was this. So we'll go on the option. It is herpes virus or hepatitis B or C of corona. What is the correct answer? So correct answer is the correct answer. Why we have come to herpes? Okay. So first we'll start excluding the answer. So your correct answer is herpes virus, herpes virus. So we'll exclude hepatitis C and coronavirus. Actually, why we are excluding? Because these are RNA virus. So for very easy for us to exclude these two. Coronavirus is RNA virus. People have got confused seeing this kind of image which was given. So they assumed it will be coronavirus. Okay. Hepatitis C is RNA virus. Now coming to hepatitis B and herpes virus. So the DNA was given was a complete DNA. Okay. We know in hepatitis B, the DNA, the genetic material is DNA, but it is incomplete. It is not complete. So it will be something like this. Okay. It will be something like this. Okay. So it is incomplete DNA, but the image which was given to you was having complete DNA. Okay. So that gives one clue towards Harvey virus. We know all DNA virus, their replication, multiplication goes inside the nucleus. All RNA virus, their replication or multiplication goes inside the cytoplasm. Okay. So we can see it is inside the nucleus. Okay. And it is complete DNA. So our clue will go towards the herpes virus. Then next question is hepatitis B subunit vaccine. Which antigen is used? Very direct questions. There's nothing too much discuss about this. For if after vaccination, what we check for? Anti-HBs titer, right? Okay, if titer is sufficient, we say vaccination is complete. So for subunit vaccine, the antigen which we use is HBs antigen. So other answers are wrong. Okay, now coming to 11th question. RNA virus, how you diagnose it. So I got two options only for this. Remaining two option is not there with me. So two option which student got confused more. One was real-time PCR, one was reverse transcriptase PCR. Okay. So your reverse transcriptase PCR is a type of your real-time PCR. Why we say real-time? How many multiplication or copying is happening? You can see directly. So you say it as a real-time. Okay. Reverse transcriptase PCR is for your RNA virus, where reverse transcriptase, see the process, the steps in PCR is 3 steps are there. Denaturation, annealing, and extension. These are the 3 steps for PCR. Okay. Denaturation, annealing, extension. So denaturation we do around 95 degrees centigrade. What we do in denaturation? DNA we know is double stranded. We separate it by denaturating. Okay. And make it as a single stranded. Annealing, we add primer and probe. Okay, so it will anneal to one of the strand and start forming, completing the strand. Extension will happen so annealing will happen at around 60 to 62 degrees centigrade, and extension will happen around 50 to 55 degrees centigrade. So you have denaturation, annealing, extension. Denaturation will happen at your around 60 degrees centigrade. Denaturation will happen at 95 degrees centigrade. Then you have annealing and extension step. Okay. So you are denaturing double-stranded DNA, first step in PCR. But RNA virus will have single-stranded RNA. So how you are going to single-stranded RNA virus, how you are going to denature them? you had to make them to double-stranded DNA. Okay, so for that we use reverse transcriptase enzyme to make single-stranded RNA virus to double-stranded DNA virus. Okay, to double-strand. So the enzyme which we use is reverse transcriptase enzyme. So reverse transcriptase PCR is a type of real-time PCR where we use reverse transcriptase enzyme to make it that RNA virus to complementary DNA synthesis. Okay, so the correct answer for this is your real-time PCR. Real-time PCR because you're able to see the PCR indirectly, so we say it as a real-time PCR. Okay. Now coming to 12th question, a 30-year-old married female coming to OPD with foul-smelling, watery, vaginal discharge. Okay. On examination, the cervix was strawberry cervix. What is the treatment? So option given was these 4 options. Among this, the correct answer is your metronidazole. Okay. So strawberry, the clue, foul-smelling discharge you see in bacterial vaginosis, right? The clue here was strawberry cervix. Strawberry cervix we see in where is Trichomonas vaginalis. Okay. Okay. So we discussed this. Fungal, bacterial and parasitic discharge. Vaginal infection will happen in discharge. Fungal, that is your candida, curdy white discharge you will see. Bacterial, you will see the fishy smell, bacterial vaginosis. Parasitic, you will see frothy green discharge. And in Trichomonas vaginalis, you will see strawberry cervix because of punctate hemorrhage which has happened on the cervical wall. Okay, and the treatment of choice for both bacterial vaginosis and Trichomonas vaginalis, which is parasitic infection, is metronidazole. So if you are confused whether it's bacterial vaginosis or parasitic, the answer for both of them here will be metronidazole, because drug of choice for both of them is metronidazole. But clue here given was strawberry cervix, which separated it from bacterial vaginosis, and the clue go towards the Trichomonas vaginalis, which is parasitic or protozoal infection. Okay. Now we'll move to the 13th question. The question is Paul Bunel test. Okay. The option given was this: complement fixation test, antibody heterogeneity test, super antigen test, or hapten test. I did not get the answer on heterophile agglutination test. Okay, that option was not provided to me. I got through students were these 4 options. If heterophile agglutination test was one of the answer or option, your answer should be heterophile agglutination test. If option was not heterophile agglutination test, your answer should be complement fixation test. It is not super antigen, it is not hapten. Okay, so what is Paul Bunel test? Is heterophile agglutination test. Why we say heterophile antigen? What do we understand by heterophile antigen? When same antigen is present in 2 different species, okay? An antibody produced against this antigen can cross-react with those heterophile antigen, which is present in 2 different species, are called heterophile agglutination test. Which the example for heterophile agglutination test is your Paul Bunel test, Weil-Felix test, and streptococcal Weil-Felix test, and coagglutination test. Okay, so Paul Bunel, which we do for diagnosis of infectious mononucleosis, which is caused by Epstein-Barr virus. In that, we used, you can see, this is the picture. Patient sample, which is having antibody you have taken, and sheep or whore RBC is used, and it shows clumping or agglutination. Okay, so antibody against Epstein-Barr virus or infectious mononucleosis is able to agglutinate sheep or horse RBC. So this is heterophile agglutination test, which is also called as monospot test. Okay. We'll come to next question, 14 question number. A 14-day-old neonate developed conjunctivitis, followed by pneumonitis, showing bilateral infiltrate. Total leukocyte shows lymphocyte predominance. What will be the etiology? So correct answer for this. First we'll go to correct answer, then we'll start excluding is Chlamydia trachomatis. Why we are excluding Streptococcus pneumoniae? It does not causes pneumonia in infant, neonate, right? It causes in the children or adult age group. It does not causes in the neonate or infants. So we exclude this, okay? H influenzae in 14 days old child, it does not causes conjunctivitis or pneumonia. This is mainly for epiglottitis and other feature in children, especially in the children you see, okay, not in the 14-year-old child. Now, mycoplasma also not associated with similar kind of feature. Chlamydia trachomatis, which is responsible for neonatal pneumonia and conjunctivitis. Okay, so we'll see this slide. We know chlamydia is obligatory intracellular parasite. Few clinical resemblances towards bacteria, few towards the viral. So you can see here lymphocyte predominance is there in the given case scenario, and it causes pneumonia. Okay, and Chlamydia trachomatis, you have serover A2B, D2K, and L1, L2, L3. So this D2K, which is responsible for neonatal conjunctivitis and neonatal pneumonia. So this was the infection caused by Chlamydia trachomatis, serover D2K. Okay, now coming to fifth question, this picture where the child is presenting with gray-white membrane over tonsil, or it was given pseudomembrane over tonsil. Throat swab was taken and the staining was performed and picture was given in this image. What is the order of staining? Few people said it was Albert staining, and most of the people finally we came to conclusion, no, it was Gram staining, because option given were these, so it cannot be Albert staining. But for your information, we'll just discuss. First, we'll know the correct order of this. We'll know this is a Gram staining picture of, this is a disease caused by Guarinibacterium diphtheria, where you see gray-white membrane over tonsil, which is also called pseudomembrane. Okay, pseudomembranous tonsillitis, Guarinibacterium diphtheria. When we take the membrane, we do Gram staining on that, we get V or L-shaped bacteria, okay, or club-shaped, okay. So you can see there is a V-shaped, L-shaped in the image, and clubbing will be there, okay. Okay, and this is the Gram stain picture. Gram stain, the step we know, all of us know, the first step is your primary stain, crystal violet, gentian violet or methyl violet for 1 minute. Then you wash with water and then you use mordant, which is your iodine. Second step, which we leave for around 1 minute. Then you use third step. This is decolorization step, where you use acetone or alcohol. Few people said the alcohol was in the option. Few people said it is acetone in the option. So both acts as a decolorizer, and the counter stain is the fourth step, safranin. So your Gram positive bacteria will take the violet color or purple color. Gram negative will take pink color. Okay, so the order is, first is your methyl violet or crystal violet or gentian violet, anything is right. So first is this, second, that is your primary stain, second is your fixative iodine, third is your decolorization with acetone or alcohol, fourth is your counter stain with safranin or dilute carbonfusion, any option is fine, correct. So this is the Gram stain picture, and this should be the order of Gram staining if the question was Albert staining, or just be prepared for your future if it is asked. So you Albert stain, you have two steps, two dye, Albert 1 and Albert 2. Albert 1 you leave for 7 minutes and Albert 2 dye you leave for 2 minutes. So Albert 1 will have your your methylene blue and malachite green. And Albert 2 will have Lugol's iodine. Sorry. Okay, so it will have your methylene blue and malachite green along with distilled water and glycerol, which helps in mixing it. Okay, so Albert will have Albert 1 and 2, but the dye will be malachite green and methylene blue there, and 2 will have Lugol's iodine, potassium iodide. Okay. So this question was gram staining, and this were the steps of gram staining. Now coming to 16 question, a patient sera tested positive for anti-HBC IgG. Choose the correct stage of disease. Okay. So whether it's acute hepatitis B, chronic active, recovered or past infection, or chronic. So your answer should be, okay. So your answer should be recovered and past infection. So your answer is answer C, recovered and past infection. So what you see in acute hepatitis B, we'll see this chart. Okay. So if it's early acute, okay, you will see only hepatitis B surface. Early acute, you will see hepatitis B surface antigen only positive. If very early acute, within 2 weeks or 18 days, you say, if it is acute infection, you can see HBs antigen, IgM, anti-HBC, okay, these two will be positive. So very early acute, within 2 weeks you're getting tested, only surface antigen will be there. Then acute cases, surface antigen and IgM, anti-HBC will be there. Acute resolving, your HBs antigen will come negative. Only Ig, you can see total IgM and IgG, you will be seeing. Okay. If patient is recovered from past infection or it is immune, which is our case, right? Your anti-HBC will be positive. Okay. Okay. And if it patient is vaccinated, anti-HBs will be positive. Okay. Chronic cases, you will see, you can see HBs and IgG anti-HBC. Okay. Total anti-HBC means this is IgG, sorry. Okay. So if it's chronic, only IgG positive anti-HBC you will be seeing. Vaccinated anti-HBs you will be seeing. Now this question was about Japanese B encephalitis virus, where you have to mix and match kind was given. So if we take this 1, 2, 3, 4, and this A, B, C, D. Okay. So which is the reservoir host for Japanese B encephalitis? Reservoir is your birds, adrid bird. Okay. Amplifier is for Japanese B encephalitis is pig. Accidental host or deadhead host for this is mosquito, Culex mosquito. Sorry, accidental or dead-end host is your human, okay? And vector is your Culex mosquito. So for reservoir is your adrid bird, okay? Amplifier is your pig. Accidental host is your human, okay? And vector is your Culex mosquito. This is your Japanese B encephalitis. So vaccine also has been asked about of this virus. So you have subcutaneous vaccine and kill vaccine, right? Okay. So this is the last question. Yes. So a man, I'm not sure, few people said this question was not there. Few people said this question was there. So I'm not very sure, but we thought, okay, we'll discuss this question. Here is a man from Bihar with history of prolonged fever in the childhood, presented with nodular lesion on his face and neck. There was no hyposthesia, no nerve thickening, what is your probable diagnosis? So whether it's PDK, post-dermal, Kala-Jar dermal leishmaniasis, or it is tuberculoid leprosy, or some poisoning was given. I'm not sure whether it was correctly lead poisoning. Okay. So this, the picture was something like this. The exact picture was not there. So this is post-Kala-Jar dermal leishmaniasis, which we say PKDL, okay, which we see in 3 to 10% of visceral leishmaniasis goes to post-Kala-Jar dermal leishmaniasis after 1 to 2 years after visceral leishmaniasis. So the lesion can be, you can see in this picture, lesion is hypopigmented, okay. In this picture, there is a nodular lesions. So there it can be hypopigmented or nodular. So we mostly seeing the depigmented or hypopigmented, we get confused with tuberculoid leprosy. So you had one option of tuberculoid leprosy, okay. So, and erythematous patches, butterfly rashes can be seen. How we come to diagnosis? When you take the lesions from the biopsy, we see a mastigote form, which gives the clue towards it is post-Kala-Jar dermal leishmaniasis. It is nothing but 3 to 10% of visceral leishmaniasis leads to this lesion, which is post-Kala-Jar dermal leishmaniasis. Not all the patient will lead to, which will present with hypopigmented lesion, erythematous lesions, or nodular lesion. Any form it can present. In our picture, we have seen the hypopigmented lesion and nodular lesion. Okay. And there was no nerve thickening. So nerve thickening was not there, so you can exclude the leprosy. Okay. So we came to end of this discussion. Hope today's discussion is useful for you, will help you in preparing for your future exams. Take important point from this discussion and use for your future entrances. Thank you.